Good afternoon, and welcome to the DFS Army YouTube channel. I'm Razzle11, and you can find me on X at Razzle11Grinds. Here to take a look at pitching for today, the 27th of July. It is Monday. We do have a 7-game slate on DraftKings this evening, and I believe it's an 11-game slate on FanDuel. They decided to include the 4 earlier games to make a main slate this evening. A reminder that this is a first look at the pitching options on the slate, and I will be looking at DraftKings as that is where a majority of my action is. If you play in FanDuel, cut my pool in half or so. Pricing isn't quite as tight. You don't have to be as creative. It allows you to get stacks you want with an upper tier-ish pitcher. And to be honest, over on FanDuel, I really would just consider Kyle Bradish, maybe Kiter Montero, and then Zach Wheeler from the 4 earlier games. Always like Zach Wheeler, plus Miami's lost like 12 in a row. So Wheeler just makes a ton of sense over there. But let's look at the DraftKings options for us. I think for the most part we're all right weather-wise. We'll have to double check just to make sure. So I'm just going to go for what it is and look at each matchup without taking weather into account. Cleveland, Cincinnati, you get the most expensive pitcher in Chase Burns. Obviously a ton of upside. Strikeouts have kind of been down recently, just 12 of them over his last 16 innings. That was after a 10 strikeout performance against Pittsburgh, in which he still gave up 5 runs. 2 earned runs or fewer in 14 out of his last 16 starts. So probably the safest option on the slate. Quote-unquote safest, I should say. Obviously, we know the Cleveland lineup is not very dangerous. One of the weakest offenses in all of baseball. I want to say they're bottom 2 in total runs scored. Maybe bottom 5 in home runs. But, yeah, they are second fewest runs scored. The fewest on a per-game basis. Or very close to the fewest, I guess. 4th fewest home runs on the season. So we just know that they're not overly dangerous, and they might actually have, they have the team worst OPS in all of baseball as well. So just Burns is obviously the guy that we want to play tonight. 11-3 is a hefty price tag. So Sony on the other side, I'm just going to pass. Even though pitchers do have some upside against Cincinnati, they have quite a bit of downside as well, especially in this ballpark. So I'm just going to pass on Sony at this point. He's not a huge home run guy, but he's not a big strikeout guy either. So I just don't think it's a plus spot for him. Atlanta and the Mets, I'm not using Martin Perez. He's probably one of those guys that surprisingly ends up with an okay start. But he is on the road where he's been at his worst from a number standpoint. Hasn't been very good against the Mets in 2 appearances either, so I'm going to pass there. I'm going to go to a little bit of Zach Thornton. Looking pretty good over his last 3 starts. Really good at home so far at the major league level. Not a huge K guy overall, but he's been pretty good at home. I realize Atlanta's getting Ronald Acuna back, but to me, they're a team that just has underwhelmed against left-handed pitching, despite having guys that can do damage. So I am going to mix in some Zach Thornton this evening. Pitching deep without racking up pitch count. They aren't really going to let him go much more than 80 pitches by the looks of it, but still 6+ innings in 3 of his 4 starts, despite topping out at just 82 pitches. So Thornton's a guy that I want to get exposure to for GPP purposes. Yankees, White Sox. Thinking about Noah Schultz, but I'm probably not going to get there. He's kind of burned me a little bit. And his strikeouts at the major league level haven't been there. 16 of them over the last 4 starts, which has spawned like 18 innings. I just don't really want, 4 strikeouts from my starter tonight. He's given up home runs. We know the Yankees can strike out a lot, but they still have some power. Maybe not as much against left-handed bats. Plus, they're obviously Judge is out, but then they lost Bellinger as well. I'm not getting to Noah Schultz, but I can see how some people are probably going to play him. Max Fried on the other side, coming off of his best start in a while. Well, it was his first start back from the IL and looked good, even throwing just 57 pitches. We probably expect him to only throw in the 70s for pitch count, so that is obviously a little bit of a worry. Can't really expect him to be as efficient as he just was, throwing 11.4 pitches per inning to complete 5 innings, but he was sharp, and that's always nice to see. I wasn't expecting him to be that sharp, considering that was supposed to be his second rehab start, and they scratched him just to have him make it at the major league level. The White Sox do have some outs for sure. He's been strongest away from home as well. White Sox do have some power, but Fried's generally done a pretty good job of limiting home runs at the major league level. Next up, the Cubs and the Cardinals. I'm not getting to Peterson. I don't think he looked good in his last start against Detroit. I just don't think I'm getting there against St. Louis. He's made 2 appearances against them this year. Put up negative 20 fantasy points in those 2 appearances. 16 earned runs in 7 1/3 innings. That's ugly. I'm just not going to trust Peterson. Liberatore on the other side, I am going to mix in a little bit of Liberatore. 2 out of his last 4 starts have been 26 plus fantasy points. Ironically, both of those were against the Braves. The aforementioned Braves that can struggle against left-handed pitching. 2 appearances against the Cubs this season, less than 6 points in one of them, and around 20 points in the other. So he is capable. Just 7 hits allowed in 10 1/3 against the Cubs. So I am going to sprinkle in some Liberatore as my cheaper pitching option. I don't want to get too heavy just because I don't really think he offers a ton of upside in the matchup. Walbert Urena is somebody that I am going to mix in just slightly. Just through 2 runs allowed over his last 3 starts. The problem is he's walked 10 in those 3 starts. 14 strikeouts, not bad, but the 10 walks is really worrisome. It's 1 run or fewer allowed in 4 of his last 5 starts. So I think he's in play. He did shut down Houston in LA a month and a half ago, roughly. 24 fantasy points. I would gladly take that. If he can convert a couple of these walks into outs, maybe 1 additional strikeout, some other outs, we're looking at nearly 30 fantasy points in that start. I'm going to gladly take that. I am going to be higher on the Houston bats a little bit overall, but I am mixing in Urena. Imai on the other side. His 1 start against the Angels was horrendous. He kind of has these he looks horrendous, but then elite, and elite. So, very, very much an extreme pitcher at this point. His first major league start came against the Angels, so I'm not going to hold that against him because, whatever. It's his first major league start to be in the season. The fact that he's gone for 27 plus in 3 out of his last 5 starts is something that really stands out to me. And in those starts, he has 29 strikeouts. So we're probably going to know early which version of Imai we get, because if he strikes out a few in the second inning, we're probably getting the good one. If he doesn't, the 11 walks he's had over the last 3 starts, probably going to scream doom for us. But it is the best K matchup in all of baseball, so we have to get there. Boston traveling to Sacramento to take on the A's. Peyton Tolley. Somebody I'm going to play. The A's just lost Langeliers to the IL. Obviously, Kurtz came back, but Langeliers was their team leader, especially against left-handed pitching. It is volatile because of the ballpark, etc. He's been pretty good on the road. His underlying numbers are really strong. Fantasy points per game a little lower, but that's all right because his K rate is a bit lower. He is going to have to rely on some Ks in this ballpark, so for him to have a strong performance, it probably does include a decent amount of Ks, which obviously increases his ceiling from a DFS standpoint. The other side, Jack Perkins, I'm probably not getting there. He's somebody we've used a couple times, but 5 home runs allowed over the last 3 starts, 7 walks, just nothing trending in the right directions. 3+ runs allowed in 6 of 7. That's just not ideal for us, even on a smaller slate. Last game on the slate, happening in San Francisco. You get Milwaukee traveling to San Francisco. Obviously, both pitchers are going to be in play because of the ballpark. Tyler Mahle, probably not somebody I want to be too invested in. His home numbers are pretty strong, so that's a plus. But it is Milwaukee, and it is a right-hand pitcher. I don't really love right-hand pitching against Milwaukee. They're one of those annoying teams, and I actually think Milwaukee kind of fits this ballpark. They aren't a huge home run hitting squad. I guess I lie. They are sixth in baseball. No, I had it sorted. They're tied for last in baseball in home runs. I thought I looked at earlier. Ironically, with the Boston Red Sox, who are in Sacramento, the fewest home runs in baseball, but they have, I believe, the most doubles. So, and I think they're fourth in stolen bases. So, this park probably fits their gap hitting really well. So there's a chance that Milwaukee could put up some runs, surprisingly. So, but with that said, it is a ballpark I like. Mahle pitches better in this ballpark. His last start at home put up 21 DK points. Time before that, 18. The 18 was without the W, so I think there's just enough upside. He put up 27 fantasy points against the Dodgers in this ballpark earlier this season. Probably a low likelihood of being in the winner tonight, but he's still somebody I'm going to mix in. On the other side, you get Brandon Sproat. Can give up some home runs. He's better on the road, which is nice. Generally, most of the home runs he gives up are to right-handed bats, which I think matters in this context or this contest. He's probably in a better spot. The walks are something that annoy me. 11 of them over the last 4 starts. 9 walks and just 11 strikeouts over his last 3. So he is going to throw a lot of pitches early and often. That's an issue. It's probably why he's more of a DK hope and pray play than a FanDuel guy. Now, obviously, a month ago, he was absolutely dominant in Cincinnati with his best career start, 36 fantasy points. Shows the type of upside he has. San Francisco isn't as big of a K matchup for him. In fact, San Francisco has the 5th fewest strikeouts in all of baseball, but it is a ballpark that we like. Hopefully he pitches a little bit more to contact to avoid some of these walks. And if that happens, good shot at being SP2 on this particular slate, just because SP2 options are somewhat limited, especially if Imai has some struggles with the Angels. Then it opens it up pretty wide for SP2 on this particular slate. Unless Chase Burns and Max Fried just blow away the field, and then you're paying, 19.9K for 2 pitchers, which a little less than ideal. But there we have it. There's our first look at the pitching options on the slate. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell, and get the alert anytime we drop videos here at DFS Army. If you want to join us, get access to our coaches, tools, sheets, Discord, etc., there is a link in the description below. You can use promo code RAZ, that's R-A-Z, for 10% off any MLB package monthly, or Best Ball 2026 gets you 20% off any NFL or VIP Core 4 membership. Core 4 does include MLB as well. There is a link to the merch store down below. Check it out. Check out my hoodie, some of the other designs we have. Hit the comments. Let me know what you're doing with Tyler Mahle and Brandon Sproat. 2 pitchers that are not very safe, but they are in the best ballpark. Does that mean we have to go overweight, or are you going underweight on them? And as always, best of luck, everybody.